my mission is to find those holes where the money is going, helping the dental practice, uh, showing them the big picture of how can we keep that money in. In electronic merchant systems, we provide the rates at a wholesale price. And I say, why would you pay retail when you can pay wholesale? Why can you not keep that money in your practice and using it for bonuses for your staff? Investing it in equipment, the curing light goes out, there is that money that you can go, or your endo instruments, those things are very expensive. The case, HSAs, and funds for your children for college. There's so many different ways that you can invest that money instead of throwing it out in the drain, which is basically what is happening. And what I found is it's very easy to figure it out. And it just takes doing an analysis. The thing is that I see that a lot of when I go to a dental practice and they don't know me really. They haven't met me, and I go and I say, I can really find some savings. Let's do an analysis. But they are thinking, oh, I'm already happy with what I have. I have the lowest rates. How do you know that you have the lowest rate? Have you checked? We recommend at least every 3 to 6 months, just have an analysis. Where are you right now? Did the rates go? Can you find something better? Is there a better product you can have? And another thing that I find is that in the dental office, you do not have to be integrated with your software to do your credit card processing. You can do it side by side. Many dent offices do it where most of them are processing with the banks, and they're with the banks because that's where they got their loans for, start out the practice, or a loan to buy equipment or something like that. But you are not married to the bank. The best thing is to do is to see where you are, what kind of rates are you, and see how can we fix those areas where we can actually save you. And what I can tell you from my experience, all the rate analysis I have done, and dental practices specifically, I have found between 25% up to 70.28%. That is huge. For example, Blue Wave Dentistry, this is the practice where I spent most of my career. And they were with the bank, and they were looking into adding another operatory because they hire a third doctor.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dentment. Man, oh man, I am getting more and more excited every day for the guests that I bring on, because the guests that I bring on, it's all about, for me, it's all about learning new things. And this is one of those that I kind of wanted as a person to learn about. And Miss Thelma just came on my radar. And I was like, I got to get her on my podcast to learn more about what they do and how they do it. Miss Thelma, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time. Well, Ms. Thelma, before we get us started and I ask the questions, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know what you do and how are you helping dental practices and why you do it. That will be awesome.
Yes. Well, my name is Thelma Kurasiewicz. It's a tongue twister last name, but the first name is easy. Yes, I'm a certified dental assistant, and I have been a certified dental assistant since 2004. And I've been working, my background, I've been with basically all the specialties in the practice that I worked. We did basically endo, surgery, perio, cosmetic, ortho. So I'm very well rounded of every single aspect in dentistry. And dentistry. At some point, I wanted to become a dentist. I could have, should have, I didn't. And life came. We got married. I had a couple of children, and they came back to back. So that kind of put me in the back burner. I mean, I should have. And I love dentistry. Dentistry is in my blood. But life has taken me a little bit in a different direction, and the opportunity came that I can help my dental colleagues in a different way. And this way that I'm doing is helping them with how to keep more of your revenue. Because everybody talks about how do we bring new patients, how do we expand the business, how do we grow the practice. But I don't see people saying, how do we keep the money that we make, right? So my purpose at the electronic merchant systems as an account executive. My mission is to help as many dental practices as I can. And, you know, credit card processing is one of those, I call it the necessary evils in every single business. And in the dental practice, I know how hard we work, as clinically, how many hours we put into, making the dentistry happen. But where that money is going at the end of the day, how much money you are keeping from that revenue is very important. And that is something that is being overlooked or not even looked at all in many cases. And I witnessed it really in the practice that I work, because the doctors work with the same processor for like years and years and years. The opportunity came to check the rates, and we did, and from the get-go was 20% savings. And in the dental practice, 20% of processing fees can be between $400 a month up to, I've seen it, $2,500 a month, and that adds up. So my mission is to find those holes where the money is going, helping the dental practice, uh, showing them the big picture of how can we keep that money in. In electronic merchant systems, we provide the rates at a wholesale price. And I say, why would you pay retail when you can pay wholesale? Why can you not keep that money in your practice and using it for bonuses for your staff? Investing it in equipment, the curing light goes out, there is that money that you can go, or your endo instruments, those things are very expensive. The case, HSAs, and funds for your children for college. There's so many different ways that you can invest that money instead of throwing it out in the drain, which is basically what is happening. And what I found is it's very easy to figure it out, and it just takes doing an analysis. The thing is that I see that a lot of when I go to a dental practice and they don't know me really. They haven't met me, and I go and I say, I can really find some savings. Let's do an analysis. But they are thinking, oh, I'm already happy with what I have. I have the lowest rates. How do you know that you have the lowest rate? Have you checked? We recommend at least every 3 to 6 months, just have an analysis. Where are you right now? Did the rates go? Can you find something better? Is there a better product you can have? Another thing that I find is that in the dental office, you do not have to be integrated with your software to do your credit card processing. You can do it side by side. Many dent offices do it, where most of them are processing with the banks, and they're with the banks because that's where they got their loans for, start out the practice, or a loan to buy equipment or something like that. But you are not married to the bank. The best thing is to do is to see where you are, what kind of rates are you, and see how can we fix those areas where we can actually save you. And what I can tell you from my experience, all the rate analysis I have done in dental practices specifically, I have found between 25% up to 70.28%. That is huge. For example, Blue Wave Dentistry, this is the practice where I spent most of my career. And they were with the bank, and they were looking into adding another operatory because they hired a third doctor. So they had, it was about $125,000 that they had to acquire to do the expansion of the building. Was already had the room, but you have to outfit it. So for that, it takes a lot of capital to be able to do that. So when we did the rate analysis and we actually explore another different options of processing, I found, and this is no making up anything. This is the true numbers. $85,000 a year savings in credit card processing. Now that's huge. Why? He did not have to go and get that money, borrow that money from the bank. Instead, from the revenue that he had already had in the practice, he can use that money to invest in the practice instead of throwing it away. So we got them switched over, and of course the trust was already there because they know me for so many years, right? But I have done this for many other practices, and the reason, why I'm here and I've been in Lincoln and trying to meet other doctors and trying to have the opportunity to at least show them is because I know it's real and it works. And why not check is for free. So that is where I stand. And also one thing that I wanted to say, I did not jump around from practice to practice. And I stay because I believe in the values of the practice and the doctors that I work with. And electronic version systems has those values that I worked with for so many. It's a corporate, but like I tell you, I met the CEO. I met all these people on the top, and I even got hugged. So usually in these corporations, you don't even get to meet the people on the top. You may meet your manager, not even your regional. But I met all the people to the top, and they really care about us, the employees, and we really care about the merchants. And we say, why would we have 100 customers, charge them a ton of money, and lose them? So we rather have 100 customers, charge them a penny, and keep them happy, bring the referrals, than having 5 customers, charge them $500, and then here comes my company and they go away, right? So we are focused on the customer, and also we are being taken care as employees. But that is one thing that I found with electronic merchant systems is not really like a most corporate world. It's also caring for the people that make this happen. We cannot do business without the merchants, and the merchants need us so they can have their business running. So we work as partners, and that is my mission, to help my dental community. But also, I can help any other business. But because of my focus has been in dentistry, and I want to still do something, make an impact in dentistry. So this is why EMS, why me, why the
Yeah.
girl that nobody can say the name.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. That's a fascinating and stuff. You talk about, we always talk about this. I think in dentistry in general, we as a dentist like to work with companies that bring value to what we do on a day-to-day basis. And it seems like you guys are very aligned with that. The one thing I want to know is, so, for example, if somebody is using their bank to process that, how are you guys kind of distinguish yourself from the bank? So, like, let's say if I work with Chase and I'm using their services to process my credit cards, how are you guys distinguishing yourself from the regular banks? Are the fee a little bit better? Are the processing easier? How does that really work?
Yes, normally banks, they have to partner with a processing company, because banks normally don't do those transactions. So we are almost like, I would say, like independent. We are not depending on a third party to process the credit card processing. So we are actually, that's why, because we don't have third parties, we are not charging those fees. You see, when you have, for example, you have a processor, and that processor have third parties underneath, each layer have to make something, because everybody have to earn something, is a business. With us, we cut all those layers. So that's why we can offer you the lowest possible rates. And when you think you have the lowest rates, I can tell you 100% you don't. Because I have gone to, for example, I just did a dental practice in Wilmington. Dr. Ane, he's a prosthetist. And they say we have already the lowest rates. I don't know if you can beat those rates. And I said, I can guarantee you 100% that I am going to find you savings. I'm not sure if I'm going to find you 20%, 50%, 70%, but 100% I will reduce something. I found 25%, even from what they thought they had the lowest rate. So unless you actually do the analysis, you will not know if you have the lowest rate. And that is how you can differentiate between a bank and working with EMS. So, and that is the difference, that we don't have those third parties underneath us, so we don't have to upcharge you. As that's why I say, why pay retail when you can pay wholesale, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a fascinating thing. So when you guys are doing the analysis, what are you exactly looking at? Are you looking at the rates that the offices are paying the bank, or are you looking at those layers? How is that process going to work?
The whole thing. Whenever you are, every month you receive a statement from your, either your bank that is doing the processing, or the actual other company or the software. For example, if you have, let's say, one of those, let's say EagleSoft, and you are integrated, you're using their processing. So through there, you're gonna get a statement that is gonna show you all the transactions for every single day, every single month, every time every day you batch. So it shows you all, every single credit card transaction of the entire month, and it breaks down all the fees and all the credits. And so those statements are very, very hard to read for just a regular person, because there are so many different fees, like Mastercard. Besides the rates, there is like platform fees. Sometimes you have a gateway fee. Sometimes you have non-PCI compliance fees. You have so many fees that is insane. Sometimes you have semi-annual, annual fees that you have no clue that you're paying unless you actually doing the detail. And what we do, we basically break down every single piece of that statement, and we put it down on paper, and we show you apples to apples exactly. Okay, they are charging you for this fee, trash it. We don't need to charge you this zero. PCI compliance, we make you sure that you PCI compliance, you don't have to pay PCI compliance. So in that statement, and not every practice is on the same bubble. Everybody is completely different because different companies charge different fees. So what we do is you break down every single detail of that statement, and then we have actually a team in my company that are specialized in breaking down all the details of those statements, because there are so many different companies, and so many different companies have different fees that you really do not know until you actually break it down and basically dissect it. And then we show you exactly what you're paying, and we go apples to apples, and that's where we find the rates. Also, are you on a flat rate? Are you in a traditional model? Are you in a surcharge model? Are you in a cash discount? Are you in a dual pricing? So you most likely, like, I actually am a member of a BNI group, and usually I ask the question, how many of you know your credit card score? I mean your credit score. Nobody knows. How many knows what is your rates for your credit cards? Nobody knows. Even you have the statement. How many of you know how much are you paying on credit card processing? What is your rate? What is your effective rate? And maybe I had actually one person say that they did all of those. And that is one business owner that is keeping it. But not everybody has that time. For example, as a dentist, your focus is clinically in the practice. You are focused on the business part of your practice, but that focus is, how do we drive more patients? How do we increase revenue? We need to hire an assistant or a hygienist. We are short in staff. We need a front desk. How are we doing on Google? Are we getting new patients through SEO? Is our website working? Do we need to do any more advertising? So those are the focus on as a doctor there, right? But the credit card processing is something that is being not looked at, and is the biggest drainer of revenue in your practice.
Wow, it is. It's that this is the type of thing that fascinates me when you think about the business of dentistry as a whole, and you look at it from the outside, and you just realize that there's so many puzzles that is in this business that kind of like you have to pay attention to as a doctor,
Mhm.
because we go to dental school, they never talk about these kind of things. They never talk
Mm-mm.
about you need to pay attention to your this kind of, and that's why this kind of conversation for me it's so fascinating, because I'm realizing that even currently I'm like, I don't know what any of this is in the office that I'm in, because like,
Mhm.
do they know what the fee is? Do they know what the rate is? And I'm sure they probably don't
Mm-mm.
even know. So it's like
No.
it's one of
Mm-mm.
those things that is interesting that we talk about these things. But do you guys, so at AMS, do you guys have your own credit card processing machines, or do you guys just tap into the existing credit card processing machine?
It depends. Now, there's some softwares that we can actually integrate with. Currently, EMS is looking into the options of integration with different dental softwares. But that being said, you do not have to have integration. Normally, what we do is we provide you with a new credit card processing equipment. I have right now what I have installed, for example, Dr. McNeely in Charlotte, North Carolina, he has 4 dental practices, and I installed in his practice the Valor VP-800, which actually have it right here. So it's this terminal here, and this one, not only that you have the terminal, it has also a patient display here, but it comes with a backend software. So and an application. The great thing about this is, like, for example, if the internet goes out, if the lights goes out, and then here you are, the patient have to leave, and then you're gonna send them a bill, right? With these terminals, you can actually still take the payments because they're wireless. They don't depend on electricity to charge them. And if the internet is not there, they can be plugged into the hotspot, or they can also have a SIM card, or you can just use your application on your phone and take the payment that way. Another thing, like with Dr. McNeely, what he really loved is that all of his practices are all connected in one backend software, so he can keep track of all the revenue in each location, all the deposits, the batches, the reports, and also who did what transaction, which is important. At the end of the day, when the front desk are reconciliating the end of the day, then they have to, if there is a mistake on a transaction, then they have to go hunt and see who checked them out. And then it takes 30 minutes before they figure out who did that when they could already have done it. With this system, also that aspect is because each employee can have a code. So whenever they check out a patient, then you can go exactly to the person that did that transaction instead of hunting in the whole office. And I say it from experience because that was happening almost every day. And the front desk girls were like, guys, you really need to pay attention. And especially if you have 3 doctors in the office. Whose production is this, right? So because the doctors are getting paid on their production, not like everybody else per hour, right? So that creates chaos at the end of the day. And instead of leaving at 5 o'clock, they're leaving at 6 o'clock, which the front desk are not very happy. Or anybody who is doing their reconciliation at the end of the day. For terminals, I'd say from my experience being in the dental field, what we have done and what I have done with other offices, is terminal, the Valor VP-800 is the best thing ever. And I used it when I was at Blue Wave Dentistry. We used it. I have several dental offices right now using that same software. And another thing, the great thing is that when you want to incentivize your patients to come back and send them, like usually you have like Sonicare toothbrush each time you come for a cleaning. With this, you can actually set them a text and say, "Hey, it's time for your cleaning," and then you can send some kind of incentive with it. So it's all there on the back end beside the dental software. So from my experience and what I have done, definitely this is the way to go. Those other terminals that they have to be connected to the internet and to the with the and the outlet, you know, they are great, but this is better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been in dental practices that the lights went out. That's just that's just been my
Every
experience.
everything stops. Suction goes out.
Everything is stops, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
If there is no suction, there is no
There's
dentist.
nothing. Only thing that the only thing that worked was the lights on our loops. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing else worked, and that we can't really do much with that one. And then the one thing is that how are you guys able to, because like the other thing that is like really interesting is you said that you guys been able to kind of like cut the middleman and just go directly work with the consumer.
Mhm.
So how are you guys being able to manage that? Because that part is also interesting, because even the big banks, they kind of have some layers or some of that third party that they're using for their processing. How are you guys been able to manage that?
Well, that's a great question. Our corporate in Cleveland, we have every single department. We have underwriting, we have the processing, we have the programming, we have risk, we have PCI, we have basically because we service different businesses. Do besides I'm focusing on dentistry,
Mhm.
but we do restaurants, gas stations, retail,
Everything.
field workers. So we have different softwares and different terminals for different fields
Yeah.
in the industry, and we have departments in Cleveland in the same building that handle all of those things. So we are not having to collaborate with another company or say, "Hey, you need to call this number." And another thing, we have 24/7 customer service, 365 days a year. So we are not sending any of it to any other third parties. We have it all in-house. Yes. So that's how we do it.
That's amazing. Yeah, I like that because a lot of time that's the biggest thing is like even some of this like the softwares that we use in the office. It's like you call this person, oh, we don't handle this part of it, you gotta call that person. And then you don't handle this part, you gotta call this other person. So it seems like nobody really has figured out the way to centralize their process. So when I see
Exactly.
companies that figure out the ways to centralize things, it just becomes so fascinating to kind of like understand what is that back end looks like because the back end of things it can be so complex because
Mhm.
we're in the process of building, Dentman, the social media platform for the dentist. So the back end of things is so complex. It's so you have to do so much work to be able to like develop it to get it to where it needs to go. So having that understanding, it is so much work to be able to centralize that perspective. So that's an amazing part of it. And then how are you kind of figuring what are some of the feedback that you're getting from the dentist? That's also the fascinating part is like how are the dentists responding to what you guys are doing?
I have none of them have complained. For example, with the system, the Valor works perfectly. There's no issues with it, and depending on the processing model that the practice is. For example, I have some offices that they do what is called dual pricing, where the are being transferred to the patient. Now, in most states, the HSA and FHA transactions cannot be transferred the fees to the patient. The practice have to cover those. So with these terminals, we actually can handle the two, like we do two different. It's kind of like having two terminals in one. So you switch for HSA to the credit card to the debit cards. So some practices have gone that way, and at first they were a little bit hesitant. How usually the average ticket value could be between 250 to 5 to 1,000 depending on the treatment, right? So what they have done is they gave the patients options. Okay, you can pay with you can still use card credit, you can use your debit, your HSA, your FHA, you can use check, you can use cash. So you still have all these other ways of paying. So those practices that have done that, at first I say, okay, you can try it for 30 days. If it works, you know, we'll go with because you have to give that flexibility because it's in dentistry, the ticket value can be pretty large. So you don't want to upset your patients, right? Because if they're gonna be upset, they're gonna go next door, and there's so many dentists. So you have to make sure that you are doing really not only great dentistry, but your practice as a whole is it. Even if they have to pay a little extra, they're not leaving you because of you, not because of what they're paying. They will pay more if they value the treatment and the care that you're giving them and the value the team. So in those cases, I have I have not had one practice that say, "Hey, switch me back because we're having trouble." Because the patients they value and they know that they have other options of payment. Now, with traditional credit card processing, basically, the practice is covering it, and you have no control over what your patient is gonna use to pay with. Usually I'm using my American Express because I'm gonna get my miles. So guess what? More miles you get, the higher your rate is gonna be. A business card, points, cashback, all those cards, higher rates. Patient calls in on the phone. They are calling in to make a payment, higher rate. So all of those things count. Now, with this Valor system, you send them a text with a link, they pay, and it's a card present transaction, so the rate stays low. So there are different ways that I can tailor the system for each practice depending on what model they want to do. But as far as how the every single office that I have done, the model that they have chosen, I have not had any issues with the system. And also another thing that I compromise myself with the doctors is that you have me too, you know? I'm not gonna let you just call the 1-800 number. You have my direct contact. You can text me, you can email me. I'm always responsive and I have a team that backs me up. And if it's something urgent, can get it done right away. And that is the great thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think sometimes having that flexibility to just have someone as a direct point of contact is such an important thing for the dentist because they're like, I just want to call somebody, figure this out, and move on to the next thing. You
Mhm.
just don't want to have your staff to be on the phone all day trying to figure things out. So yeah, that part is
Exactly.
absolutely an amazing thing. What is that? So if someone decide, let's say if I decide I want to switch my office over to your system, what is that kind of transition phase look like? How can someone transfer their information over to you guys? Does somebody have to come into the office to set this up? Is it pretty easy to switch over? How does that process look like?
It's basically plug and play. The process, the first thing is to do an analysis of where you are. And then from there, okay, we present you apples to apples and a couple of other options of processing that could save you more money. And then according to your model and the practice, then we tailor and then you can decide which model you want to go with. Once we decide that and you say, hey, I do want to change because I guarantee 100% that you're gonna have savings no matter what. So the process is we do the application and that takes is everything is fast. It's electronic signatures and is approved within the same day. Once it's approved, it goes to programming. And then they program all the information of your practice, how you want your receipts, what you want the receipts to print, and all that the details that you want to be shown on the receipt. Then everything comes to the practice already pre-programmed. And all we have to do is basically because there is no wire. So all we have to do is turn on the machine and then it'll say because he's saying it's checking for the Wi-Fi. So you connect it to the Wi-Fi, and then we do a test transaction and check the receipt that everything looks good. And basically that's it. And if something needs to be changed, like let's say, oh, the phone number is the number is wrong. So what is done is quickly my team they fix that real quick and they say, okay, just press the update button over here, which is very simple. You go update and here's update and then enter and update. So it's super easy. There is no I say no wires, no headaches. Like I went to Dr. Nearly and nine, there were 12 terminals of this, 12 of them.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
And we install of them in the same we just got them all installed in the same practice because all they have to do is just take them to wherever the practice that they belong. No kidding, it took only 1 hour to do the whole all 12, and it took 1 hour because we had to. They wanted to add a couple of little changes on the receipt,
Mm.
and just basically what it took is just doing the updates on all 12. But it's that easy. I mean, and then they can immediately start processing. So as far as like transition, the training is practically like a 5-year-old can do it.
Wow.
The installation is just plug and play, turn it on, press the button, run a test transaction, and voila, there you go. So
That's
it's very simple. And I
Awesome.
also come over to the office to make sure
Make
that
sure.
everything is running
No,
good.
that's awesome. That's really that's an amazing thing, especially these days with how the technology is going, how things are going. It just seems like everybody. The one thing I love about dental industry, I've been practicing for the past 3 years, and the one thing that I love and enjoy about dental industry is that every company that I talk to or I bring on my podcast, everybody's looking for ways to create a value around the product. And that's what I love. It's just like, how can you bring a value to the dentist so that the dentist can have easier day to day, they can have an easier operation time.
Hmm.
Things are a little bit more easier for them to do, a little more straightforward. When things get too complicated, we as dentists are like, this is way too
Yeah,
complicated for my taste. I don't think I want to do
exactly.
this. I'm the same way. I'm like, I just want things to be easy. I just want like plug and play, move on to the next thing because that's how the process I like it to be. It's just plug things in, let it work, function, and move on. Because when the staff have to spend too much time on something, that's just the hours that is being a waste on a product that has essentially may have a value for the office, but if the staff has to spend too much time understanding it,
Hmm.
then it really there's no value in that. And that's the part that I don't like. Even like for some of the system we use in the office now, I'm like, essentially like we're calling their tech support every day trying to figure something out. I'm like, that's half an hour of the office manager time that got
Hmm.
wasted on the phone trying to figure something out. I'm like, there's no value in that system for the office at that point because
Exactly.
you keep continuously trying to. So I like the fact that the companies that figure out the ways to make things simple, I think, are the ones that are really, really amazing for our industry because
Hmm.
we want to save time. We don't want to waste time. If we're spending money on something, we want it to work and function.
Exactly.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is, so what you talked about model, how do you guys determine what model you guys going to offer to the dentist? Are the models preset or is it like depend on transaction? How does that really work?
Well, it depends on what for from what I experienced in practice. That I was actually there where where you are in the practice. From all the other terminals and everything else that is there, from my personal experience, this is the best by far that any practice can have. And some of the offices they also have this one, which is the smaller one. It's the B550. It's the same valor, does the same thing, smaller, but it doesn't have the custom the patient display there. But for example, Dr. Skinner, he's a prosthodontist here in Wilmington. He wanted just this one. He did not need the other one. But what I like about this one is that this one can be, for example, where the patients are waiting in the waiting room, and there can be a little ad going here like ask about bleaching or free bleaching with Invisalign or ask for a free consultation for veneers or something like that. So, or whenever they come to check out, they see it. So it's like a little, another extra little window of advertising something of value in the practice. Everybody likes free something, free bleach, free consultation, CERAC, or are you did you hear about implants? Are you, anything that you want to kind of trigger that question on the patient's mind. Oh, I kind of, or you can say, are you happy with your smile?
Mm,
Things that
yeah.
would trigger something like, I'm not really. And then you can say, if not, we have a free consultation.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's super fascinating. No, I like that a lot, especially these days. It's like, I always say this. It's just such a I think we as a human, maybe I don't know, but I'm always so fascinated. It always like blows my mind that when I go to the grocery store and I'm at the checkout, I'm always like wondering what's around me when I'm at the checkout, and I always pick something. I'm like, oh, I needed this, or I wanted that. So it's just the idea of it is very similar to that. It's like you're going
Yeah,
out, something is there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I should ask about this, or maybe
exactly.
figure that part out. So yeah, that's an interesting concept. Well, Miss Thelma, I wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful for this time that we got on. We had this conversation. It is fascinating and stuff to really learn about what your company is doing. I'm sure that at some point I'm probably gonna have to reach out to you and look at my stuff. I'm sure something is
Yeah.
going on there.
Yeah, exactly. I am sure. Listen, I say, why not? It only takes really it takes just to send it and check it. It's free. It's
Yes,
complimentary. Oh,
absolutely.
there is no obligation. It's just
Yes.
check where you are, because
Yeah, absolutely.
I that's
Absolutely.
what I
I love
say.
it. Well, Miss Thelma, I just wanted for everyone, if they want to find you, what's the easiest way for people to find you?
They can either direct message me on LinkedIn, and also I have my phone number there, and LinkedIn as well, my
Okay,
email,
perfect.
which yes, my email is there on my LinkedIn page. And yeah, that's the best way.
Beautiful.
Message me, email me, call me. I'll pick up my phone, text me, I'll answer. I do not miss the calls.
That's good. That's good. Well,
Yes,
Miss Thelma, I will definitely put your information. I think the reason why I started this podcast was really because I want my podcast. I want to bring people from different part of the industry to really educate the younger doctors. When they come out, they have the information, they have the product in front of them, so they can really know what their options are. What are the ways that I can make their time easier in the industry? Dentistry is such a big giant of its own. I mean, from the
exactly.
clinical side of it is one thing, but running the business is another thing.
Eh,
So just bringing people together and really educate the younger doctors or even the doctors that are
mhm,
out there. That's really what my goal is with this podcast. So
mhm. Yes.
thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I can say your first name is Thelma, but your last name I'm not gonna try.
Thelma K, or you remember me, Thelma Louise.
Yeah, Thelma Louise. Yeah, I'll stick
Yeah,
with that one.
Thelma Louise, exactly.
For the audience listening, don't marry Poland's man.
Yeah, Thelma, exactly, yes. And I am here for you guys. Uh, I'm one that I've been in your shoes, know exactly what goes behind the doors in dentistry. I've been in it for 20 years
Yes.
plus years, and all I want is to make a difference. And I know how it is when, and back there, the girls, we work hard and we would get a $50 bonus. Yay! That was awesome. And if I can keep a little extra in your pocket and
Absolutely.
give it to the girls in the back, I'm like, that's a
Yes.
win-win,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, Ms. Thelma, thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you.
We'll keep in touch. I'll put your information on this podcast and this episode, and hopefully we'll get some dentists to reach out. I'm sure I'll reach back out to you for doing more collaboration and stuff. Thank you so much for your
Yes.
time. It was nice to meeting
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
You
much.
too. Great to meet you.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
for inviting.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
sure.